Hello, and welcome to AI Coaching by Hilton and SweetRush. Deconstructed for you. We've got three wonderful presenters. We have Martez from Hilton and Danielle and Adrian from SweetRush. I'm going to let them formally introduce themselves. So, Danielle, I'm going to hand it over to you, and the floor is yours.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Let me go ahead and get my screen share up and running. Give me one moment, make sure the sound is checked. Okay.
Looks good.
Thumbs up.
Looks
Yeah,
great.
okay. Well, thank you, Mel, and hi, L&D friends. We are so delighted to be here today to show you how we're using WebXR and AI technology to create immersive and impactful learning experiences that are scalable to an entire enterprise. So let me go ahead and introduce us briefly before diving in. My name is Danielle Silver. I'm a solution architect at SweetRush. I have over 10 years of experience in the world of instructional design. And since joining the XR team, I've had the opportunity to really merge my two passions of learning and technology. And now I get to spend my days dreaming up ways that we might use immersive tech to engage learners in new and exciting ways. Adrian Soto is our Director of Immersive Technology at SweetRush. He has a background in engineering, programming, 2 and 3D design, and all things immersive technology related. He's one of those unique leaders that has deep technical expertise, but is also able to distill information in a way that is easy for the rest of us non-technical folk to understand. And lastly, we have the honor of co-presenting with Martez Green today. She is the Senior Manager of Global Brand Learning and is leading the design and development of learning for Hilton's Customer Promise initiative across 19 brands, 7,000 hotels in 124 countries and territories, and is driving Hilton's unique service culture around the world. It's been such a pleasure to work with her on this AI-powered project. She's a visionary leader who together with her team are fearlessly embracing advanced technology in an effort to continue elevating the learning experience at Hilton. So for those of you who are new to SweetRush, I will quickly share that we are trusted by so many of you and your peers in the L&D industry. And at the heart of what we do, we help organizations navigate change, whether that's supporting your team members as they gain new skills or shifting mental models to improve behavior. We proudly empower people to adapt, innovate, and thrive into the future. So we've had the honor of working with the Hilton Hotel Group over the past 10 years, and in that time, we've really innovated together, grown together, and learned together, and it's yielded incredible results. Their dedication to innovation, their inclusive culture, and their commitment to nurturing the personal and professional growth of their employees has earned Hilton the coveted ranking of the #1 world's best workplace by both Fortune magazine and Great Place to Work. And today we're delighted to share a recent project that we just launched for their Customer Promise curriculum. Let's start with a little background to the project. The challenge, Hilton's Customer Promise, is to deliver a reliable and friendly stay, supported by their team members who make it right before, during, and after the stay. When challenges arise, team members are empowered to resolve guests' concerns. Being able to resolve problems to guest satisfaction takes care and empathy, and it can sometimes be challenging to decide on the best approach. And our solution was to equip team members with the capability and confidence to activate HOT, Hilton's problem resolution model, through an innovative AI-powered VR experience. And with that, I'll hand it over to Martez to share a little bit more about the vision for the project.
Thank you, Danielle. So really, when we were trying to solve for this, we had a great framework already in place with the HEART model. And we wanted to amplify this across all of our hotels as our standard problem resolution model so that all 460,000 of us, from our newest to our most tenured team members, felt confident and capable to resolve problems. And so this is what brought us to the HEART model here. So as many of you have never heard of the HEART model, at Hilton, our team members are at the heart of what we do, and they deliver exceptional service to every guest at hotels around the globe. This 5-step solution, to hear the guest, to empathize with the guest, to apologize for the guest, as well as resolve that problem and bringing it home with a thank you, allows us to recover service challenges when they arise. And we chose this because it's easy to remember. Each step plays a crucial role in actually resolving problems. And we wanted all team members, no matter their department or role, to have a safe environment where they can practice this heart model to help strengthen their heart muscle. And our ultimate goal is to be the best at problem resolution.
Perfect, thank you. So in August of last year, we had the opportunity to launch these experiences at Hilton's All Suites and Focus Service Conference, in which 10,000 general managers and commercial sales leaders from across the Americas were in attendance. So here's a short video featuring some reactions from a few attendees who tried the experience. I'm going to hit play and you should be hearing sound, so shout at me if you are not.
I think it was absolutely incredible. I think it gives firsthand true experience, but it's modernized technology to be able to relate with our team members that are working today.
That's absolutely amazing. And I know maybe people of my generation are a little bit afraid of the word AI, and I know maybe the younger generations love it and understand it a lot better than maybe we do. But it was very comfortable. I didn't feel intimidated. Sometimes I do. And I know that in the general session they were speaking about it and how this is going to enhance us in the hospitality world, and not necessarily replace the person with the robot, that will still be there.
Where do I sign?
You're ready?
Yes.
Okay, I love that.
Absolutely. It's great. It's just like I left and I came back to make sure that somebody had my contact and, hey, I want to do this as soon as possible.
All right, so when VR, AI, and speech-to-text technology join forces, we really unlock a new dimension of learning possibilities. And this is the trio of technologies that powers the project that we're about to show you. We have created many VR experiences over the years, and what we heard from our client partners was that VR was challenging to scale to wide distributed audiences. And we've solved this through WebXR, which is a technology that allows us to create web-based virtual reality experiences that are accessible on VR headsets as well as desktop computers. So now you can create impactful, immersive experiences that all of your learners can enjoy and access. This is Vic. He's our virtual concierge and AI coach that analyzes responses and delivers personalized feedback to each and every learner. And lastly, a voice detection system empowers learners to engage with hotel guests using their own voices, eliminating the need for multiple choice prompts. This is a true evolution on the branching simulation. This approach encourages learners to tap into their instinctive responses in any given situation, allowing for much more authentic learning experiences. So to demo the project and give you a sense of how it plays out in practice, here is a 2-minute video from last year's conference of a user going through one of the scenarios on a desktop computer.
You have to do something about the air conditioning unit in my room. It rattled all night. I tried adjusting the temperature, changing the fan setting, nothing. I didn't get any sleep.
Ms. Cato is very unhappy and exhausted. What will you say to her?
I hear you that the air conditioning and fan were running in your room all night. I understand how frustrating this must be because, of course, you're expecting to have a good night's sleep in our hotel. I sincerely apologize that this happened. I'm very sorry. I'd love to make this right for you. Can I offer you a free voucher for the restaurant to dine with us today? And I'll also send technical support up to your room, maintenance up to your room right away to fix the issue. Thank you so much for bringing this to my attention. I really appreciate it.
You did a good job hearing the guest's problem by repeating it back to them. You showed empathy by acknowledging the guest's frustration over the lack of sleep. You apologized sincerely for the inconvenience caused. Do not offer free vouchers or discounts greater than 50% off. Focus on resolving the issue by sending maintenance and ensuring the guest is moved to a new room. You thanked the guest appropriately for bringing this issue to your attention.
So take a moment and imagine that you are working at a hotel and a guest comes to you with a problem. It can be challenging to know what to do in real time, particularly when a guest is unhappy. And that's really the beauty and power of this experience, to create a safe space for learners to practice and to fail, an experience in which learners can flex their problem resolution muscles so that when they are confronted with real-world guest challenges, they're able to overcome them with confidence and grace. Let me move forward here. So we recently presented a similar webinar and the audience asked so many insightful questions. We assumed that many of you here today might be wondering similar things. And so rather than waiting until the end, we thought it might be nice to get some of these burning questions answered as we go along. Of course, we'll leave time for a live Q&A session at the end as well. So the first question, virtual reality is not something we're ready to pursue as an organization. Is VR needed to create a solution like this? And the answer is no, VR is not needed for a solution like this. The great thing about being custom content creators is that every solution is unique and designed for very specific learning objectives and organizational needs. So some client partners love VR and are building out their portfolio of immersive learning experiences, while others are not yet ready to take that leap, and that's okay. We can still create highly impactful, advanced web simulations that are powered by the same underlying technologies as this Hilton case study, and your learners would access it via their desktop computers or even mobile phones, as opposed to VR headsets. All right, so in some ways, this is the most important slide of our presentation, and here are two crucial concepts that we'd encourage you to take away from today's session. Firstly, projects using new technologies like AI are full of uncertainty. After all, we're integrating technologies that are themselves ever-changing. For a project of this nature to be successful, deep trust and collaboration both between internal teams and with your client partner is critical. And secondly, it really does take an interdisciplinary effort to make something like this happen and to put it together. It's crucial for all of these core components to be in place for your AI-powered project success. You might have top-notch learning experience designers, but without careful attention to your IT infrastructure and data security, your project could crumble. And similarly, even with a solid development architecture, if your AI prompt lacks the necessary detail, your project won't meet its learning objectives. And so let's dive into each one of these components one by one. We've done our best to distill the information and share our process with you, but in reality, we could really speak to each of these topics for hours. So first and foremost, a spirit of experimentation is essential in order to navigate this constantly evolving landscape. Projects using advanced technology require a very iterative and flexible approach. And so one of the very first things that we do is to build a prototype so that we can test technologies, validate ideas, and refine our concepts. This happens in parallel to other early project stages like content analysis. Moving on to learning experience design, the role of the LXD is multifaceted, but I wanted to call out three key aspects here, starting with storytelling. So although this is an AI-powered project, we didn't actually use AI in the development of our characters or stories. Instead, our LXDs worked closely with the Hilton team to write authentic and realistic scenarios the old school way, which is in part what made this project so successful. The characters are based on real hotel guests and real guest challenges. And I'd love for Martez to share a bit more about the stories and how they came to life.
Yeah, thank you, Danielle. So really, when we started this journey, we wanted the learner to have look and feel and have real life scenarios that they could relate to, and for them to be able to practice before they go into the real world, which can be a scary and challenging thing. And we've all had a moment where we've had a challenging conversation. So really to armor them so they felt supported in there, but also that it was realistic, that the look and feel, as you see here, we're in our lobby of our solutions here, very similar to all hotels, and looking at multiple departments and views of real life scenarios. And where we started with this is looking at our own guest feedback and data to make those decisions. And then also for the avatars to look and feel like our guests, which I know we'll talk about real soon.
Perfect. All right. And then in addition to the actual stories, there's the curriculum itself as well. So when looking at the customer promise curriculum, our LXDs, together with the Hilton team, designed a multimodal learner journey made up of e-learning modules and pre-shift activities in which learners gain their foundational knowledge. This WebXR AI experience was then envisioned as the capstone activity that would give learners the opportunity to truly apply what they had learned and put their skills to the test through these immersive real-world scenarios. And I'd love for Martez to share a little bit more about the learner journey and also the importance of meeting learners where they're at, particularly in the hospitality industry.
Right. When we first met with SweetRush, we wanted to create a real buffet, multiple modality for our team members to learn from, because not all team members are still on the same journey, but also hospitality is a very busy environment. And so it can be sometimes hard to reach only in a one format setting. So with our partnership, we've created our pre-shifts, our traditional e-learning. We've also created some micro videos. And then we added this immersive experience to allow team members to practice in a safe space, but also meet the needs of hotels and team members so that training is easy to access and can support them where they are in their learning journey. And this VR experience provided a new and innovative training for team members to practice in that safe space outside of the traditional role playing or on the hands job experience, to get real-time feedback to build that confidence so that when they were faced with an actual guest challenge, they felt comfortable at how to solve that for them.
Perfect. Thank you. I love that term that you use, buffet, and how we're really offering learners a more personalized approach to learning. And so they can pick and choose modalities that fit into their lives at the point of need. And so, yeah, it's a powerful learner journey. Moving on to the anatomy of a prompt. So here's where the LXD role is evolving in a really exciting way. The LXD is an integral part of developing the AI prompt, which is another really important part of any AI-powered project. This is a deeply collaborative process between the LXD, the lead developer, and the client. So let's look at the anatomy of a successful AI prompt and how you can train your AI coach to deliver impactful and effective feedback to learners. So role and goal. First, we tell the AI who it is and how it should behave. In other words, we give it a personality, a tone of voice, and a perspective from which to share feedback with learners. In this case study, we told the AI that it was a manager of a Hilton hotel, and its responsibility is to ensure that the team members are resolving the guest's problem by following the HOT problem resolution model correctly. Next up, we write very specific step-by-step instructions. So here we would break down the HOT model and describe each component in detail. Here, empathize, apologize, resolve, and thank. The more context, the better. We then start to feed the AI examples. Including examples of desired responses can really help clarify expectations and provide guidance to the AI. These examples can demonstrate the desired style, tone, or content of the response. This step is particularly important when dealing with very nuanced emotions like empathy. For example, what should that sound and feel like? Next, we define the constraints in order to prevent the AI from acting in unexpected ways. So here we worked with the Hilton team to define what resolutions are not appropriate or proportional in response to specific guest challenges that are being presented in these scenarios. And lastly, the pedagogy. So here we condition the AI to give feedback on the learner's performance so that they can really reflect and correct their mistakes on the next go. This is, of course, a very simplified example of an AI prompt, and in reality, it's one of the most complex components of this project. It's a very iterative process, and human validation is essential here. Test your prompt, review the answers, and refine it as needed. And I'd love for Martez to speak a little bit about the collaboration on the AI prompt from Hilton's perspective and how her team helped to refine it.
Yeah, this truly was one of the most fun parts of the project, really breaking down how team members respond, what does good, what does better, and what does best sound like, and then going through each step, ensuring that we're not skipping a step, providing actual resolutions, and making sure that they were not unrealistic or just completely wrong. I like to call those the Oprah moments. And it's also important to teach the AI the methodology of heart, what it truly means to hear a guest, to empathize with a guest, to apologize. What does the sincere apology sound like? What is an appropriate resolution? And then also making sure that we're thanking the guest. They've given us an opportunity to really resolve that for them before they've left, and continue to build that loyalty. And then the most important is giving the AI the correct feedback to help support those team members. And this is really what's going to drive the change in behavior and enhance our service skills for our guests in solving problems.
Mm-hmm. I remember you mentioned something when we were prepping for this webinar that the AI experience or the prompt felt broken to you the first time that your team kind of went through the scenarios. And it's interesting because it's so different to an e-learning project or a branching simulation that is very predetermined or pre-scripted. And so when you get the alpha, everything is as it was in the storyboards, everything is expected. In the world of AI, it's all unexpected. And so it's super iterative. And the first time you go through it, it may very well feel broken. But that's why it's just so important, the back and forth and the refinement and the feedback, until you get it to a place that it feels good. And it sounds like something that an actual Hilton manager might respond on the floor to, to someone who's actually going through one of these scenarios in the real world.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's jump over to the next component and explore some of the visual design considerations. In this experience, learners step into realistic 360-degree environments that mirror their real-world contexts, really allowing them to practice and apply their skills in a safe space and better prepare them for real-world challenges. The Hilton team provided us with images of the various hotel spaces, which we then used to build out the environments. For the first phase of this project, we created 3 virtual spaces, each designed to capture the visual look and feel of the respective brands. We currently have 19 additional scenarios in production, and here is a behind-the-scenes sneak peek of one of the new 360-degree environments in production. And I love to watch. This is one of my favorite parts of a project, is to really see it come to life from inception through to final delivery, and the gray boxing and watching how the environment comes to life and the textures, and seeing how we start with photographs and we end up with this beautiful 360 replica of an environment that a learner can navigate in 360 degrees is a really exciting part of the whole development process for me personally. Another important design consideration is the character design. So in addition to Vic, our virtual concierge, we designed 3 guest avatars, each inspired by real guest travelers. And I'll hand it over to Martes to speak to the characters and the thought process behind how they came to life.
Yeah, so as a global company, we wanted to make sure that all of our team members, no matter where they sit in the globe, could see and feel the guests and the spaces around them. And so also showing the multiple spaces, but also the multiple types of guests from our business to our leisure travels. And this really just amplified our great diversity as a company, but also really helped them understand that this can happen to all types of guests. Problems do not get chosen, they just sometimes happen. And so this really helped them build that strength and comfort in being better at problem resolution through this experience.
Great. And then I'll leave it with Martes to answer the second question. How is Hilton measuring the success of this solution?
Yeah, so we are so excited to fully launch this globally. As Danielle shared, we're building out even more scenarios and continuing to show this to all of our brands across our Hilton portfolio. And so success of this solution will just be that we will be better at problem resolution, that we will hear from our guests that when a problem has arisen, our team members handled it, it was resolved, and that we have continued built loyalty from our guests, that they will continue to stay and choose Hilton as their place to stay when they travel, because they know that we are providing them that reliable service that we've guaranteed to all of our guests.
Amazing. Thank you for sharing. Okay, moving on to the user interface design. So as we thought about the complexity of the heart model, we knew that we wanted to engage learners and motivate them to try, to fail, to try again, and just to have fun. The heart model is a powerful multi-step methodology, with each step being very nuanced and subjective. Empathy, apology, resolution. These are challenging concepts to quantify. Our creative team decided that visualizing the heart model through this results screen as pictured here empowered learners with instant and visual feedback about their performance, where they went wrong, and where their areas for improvement were, and it immediately situated them for another attempt. We also found that the use of the green and the red boxes actually motivated people to repeat the experience until they hit green for all 5 letters. And the last visual design consideration I'll touch on here is the challenge of designing for multiple devices. Again, it is essential to consider the UI. Our goal is to ensure that instructions are easy to follow, the interactions are intuitive, and the user experience is consistent and effective across devices. Question 3, how accessible are the simulated experiences? So if you've worked with SweetRush in the past, you'll know that we are a rainbow company with big hearts, and we really do care about accessibility, and we put a lot of effort and research into this space. All of us in the L&D industry know that depending on the complexity of the modality, the technology, or the authoring tool at hand, different levels of accessibility can be achieved. We also know that accessibility standards like the WCAG guidelines are very black and white. You either check all of the boxes or you don't. And so WebXR experiences, strictly speaking, are not WCAG compliant. Given the 360-degree nature of these immersive simulations, they're more closely related to games than they are to e-learning modules. And as such, we apply industry best practices for accessible game design to these solutions. We're able to integrate an accessibility panel that allows learners to configure their preferences as they relate to closed captioning, keyboard navigation, audio settings, and more. There's also a very exciting world of advanced technology that we're exploring that promises to make some aspects of accessibility even broader. For example, eye tracking technology. Might learners navigate the experiences simply by where they're gazing on the screen or within a headset? So accessibility is top of mind for us, and it is a process that we are continually improving over time. Even when you get accessibility right, you can always do it better. All right, so far we've covered prototype development, learning experience design, and visual design, a lot of really important components. And I'll now hand it over to Adrian to talk more about WebXR and some of the more technical aspects of the project.
Thanks. Danny previously mentioned that WebXR is one of the technologies that's behind this project. And just like any website or almost any web content, WebXR experiences are uploaded to a server where you can access them from your computer or a headset using an internet browser. However, when we're speaking of web content that is used in learning, there is a huge component that you're all very familiar with called the Learning Management System. Thanks to our WebXR LMS integration tool, or LIT for short, projects like this one can be accessed through a learning management system. This provides continuity from the course the learner is already taking to the WebXR experience. We can also bring back metrics from the learner's performance in the experience to the LMS so that the learner can continue with the course. And then, of course, device optionality, one of the most important aspects. As mentioned before, within an existing learning content, the learner gets to a point where the option to continue in virtual reality or in their desktop computer is presented. What happens here is, once a selection is made, the learner is taken to the WebXR training experience where they can interact with the content using that hardware they selected. This is one of my favorite subjects of the development architecture. And the reason that this is how the magic happens. In previous webinars, we've talked about how different technologies are maturing and how the mixing and matching of these technologies allows for the creation of amazing content. A cool analogy is that you can think of this as a form of alchemy. where different elements are being mixed, trying to craft something impossible. The difference being that you actually get to create it. This is a very dense slide, so I'm going to explain it in an oversimplified way. So take what I say with a grain of salt. What you see is all the connections between the different technologies behind this project. At the center of it all is our server, or anyone's server for that matter, the Alchemist pot. On the top left in green, we have the external services, or the raw metals. Those are brought into the pot where we add some of the top right yellow ingredients are house specials, anything and everything related to content creation. While we let everything sit for a bit, special care is taken into safety. We don't want everything to blow up. So in blue at the top left, you see that our IT team works to make sure nothing dangerous happens. And finally, we add to the mix all the ingredients located at the bottom right, where WebXR takes center stage to provide cross-device functionality and correct content distribution. And once everything is put together, we have the final result, this amazing project. In the previous slide, the question. Yeah. So one of the questions that was asked was, what AI solution did you use in order to provide learners with a personalized feedback? This was also asked, by the way, in the chat. You're welcome, Margaret. When we started working this project, which was around 8 or 9 months ago, technology was different to what it is today. So what I'm going to say applies back then, which feels like an eternity, but it isn't, which also speaks to how fast everything is evolving. So we started working with ChatGPT, which was available to everyone at the time. However, we're not satisfied with how fast the response time was. Again, this is back then when we started this project. So we quickly shifted to Anthropic's cloud. I think it was version 1 then or 2.0, or they were transitioning, which was much faster. So it provided the learner that feeling of conversation with BIC. We also tested Llama, but we were not happy with how the training process went with Llama. But yeah, so Cloud by Anthropic. And next slide. So in the previous slide, I lightly mentioned the work our IT team does. However, I want to bring out the magnitude of importance of what goes on behind security. In SweetRush, we have 4 philosophies at the core of what we do. So the first one is we're committed to safeguarding user data, and we protect user privacy by anonymizing data effectively. Second, we maintain high security standards through continuous audits and adherence to regulations. Third, we implement robust security measures to safeguard against various threats across different IT layers, like mission critical assets, data, application, endpoint, and network security. And finally, we're transparent about the use of AI and are vigilant on the ethical use of AI technologies. You're on mute.
Yeah, there we go. I was trying to find the unmute button. Okay, thank you, Adrian. Okay, so moving on to user acceptance testing. Let me play this video, and it does not need sound. So at last year's Hilton conference, we set up a station where attendees were able to demo the experience for themselves on both a VR headset and a desktop computer. So here you'll see Andres, he's our lead XR developer, and he's guiding people through the experience and providing any assistance as needed. This was really a magical moment for us because it meant that we were able to watch people as they went through the experience and notice how they organically want to navigate through the modules. These observations helped us to refine and improve the experience. One example is that we noticed that people were hitting the record button twice and unintentionally starting and stopping the experience without having had a chance to answer. We later improved the UI to make this more intuitive. Another example was that when people finished a particular scenario, they were eager to try it again, but there was no way for them to do that without going back to the very beginning of the project. Another great insight from which we could improve the user experience. This event really highlighted the critical role of user acceptance testing and human validation in XR or AI-powered projects. No matter how much you and your team test it internally, you have got to put it in front of real users and observe, listen, and be open to feedback. And lastly, an ode to the role of project management, which is no small feat when every project involves a new technology or functionality and a whole lot of uncertainty. The project manager is the conductor of this orchestra, ensuring that parallel, often overlapping streams of work come together seamlessly and culminate in a successful project. Our XR project manager closely collaborated with the Hilton project leads, including Martes here, requiring a deep level of trust and expert coordination to weave together all of these elements. This partnership was the foundation upon which we were able to turn an intricate vision into a powerful learning experience. And the last question, and one that I'm sure is on everybody's mind, can you share more about the cost considerations for a solution like this one? Okay, so I'm going to do my best to answer this in a way that adds value to you today. All of the work that we do is fully custom, and as a result, costs, of course, do vary. So I'm happy to share a few of the variables to consider. First, you have the cost of creating the experience itself. And the way that SweetRush works is that this is typically a once-off cost. Then there are the monthly license fees to keep in mind for third-party technology integrations, such as hosting, the AI tool, or the speech-to-text service. These are often driven by usage or the number of learners who go through the application per month. And so, yes, these costs can add up, and an experience of this nature is not inexpensive. But at the end of the day, it's essential to look at the return on investment. The ability to create an AI-powered experience that is scalable to your entire enterprise, a coach that is not bound by time zones or language or geographic location, a coach that is consistent 100% of the time and available to your learners 100% of the time. There is real value in that. So on the topic of AI, I'll share an insight that I heard from a client at a recent event. Their plan for this year is to use AI tools to more cost-effectively produce lower complexity experiences, such as e-learning modules, or even to curate existing content for learners, with the hopes of allocating the cost savings to more high-impact experiences like this one. Our work is bespoke, and so there is a lot of inherent flexibility with our solutions. If you're needing some targeted pricing or wanting to better understand the cost considerations for a project like this, we really would encourage you to reach out, and we'd be delighted to explore how we can balance your business needs and budget in a way that feels good to you. And that brings us to the end of our presentation. Thank you for sharing your time with us today. I know we covered a whole lot of information. We do invite you to please reach out to us if you'd like to dive deeper into any of these topics. We're so passionate about the intersection of learning and advanced technology and would be delighted to continue the conversation with you. With that, I'd like to open up the floor to hear some of your reflections and if you have any additional questions that we may not have already answered during the presentation. So let me have a look here.
We have some on the chat, but as opposed
Not
to
in the
the
Q&A. Okay, let me have a look here. Okay, let's see. Who is providing the headsets and how do you collaborate with them? I'm happy to start answering that question and then maybe Adrian can fill in the gaps. But essentially, we are technology agnostic at SweetRush. And so we really pick and choose technologies that make the most sense for a given solution or for your organizational context. And so we have deep relationships with various hardware manufacturers from Meta to Pico, and we've worked with all of the headset manufacturers all the way to HTC Vive. And so we can help with that decision. So we would work with you to decide which is the best headset. for your solution and for your organization. And then we can either put you in touch with a headset manufacturer to help you curate your headsets, or we can do that for you. So that is a service that we offer as well. So we're able to help with the logistics of getting the headsets to you and your learners. Another thing that I will add about these WebXR experiences is that we really see them as the gateway to immersive technology, which is so exciting because it means you can create an experience like this while you're starting to build your inventory of headsets. So you could have 5 or 10 headsets instead of needing 1,000, but you could still create an experience like this and scale it to your entire enterprise. So it gives you time to start building up your inventory if that is something that you're interested in doing. And we're always happy to help build out your XR strategy and advise and consult when it comes to headsets. Adrian, anything you would add?
No, well, since it's WebXR, this is pretty much device agnostic. You could use Meta headsets, you could use Pico headsets. In this particular situation, we chose Pico because there's a technical aspect when it comes to audio input on that headset that allows it to work in extremely noisy environments through a microphone, but it can work on any device without any issues.
Perfect, thank you. Okay, I'm going through the chat here. This one isn't necessarily a question, but a great comment. I'm already thinking about how I can apply this to the call center curriculum. And absolutely, this kind of experience just lends itself so well to any soft skills or conversational type experience or human skills, from coaching to leadership to call center, customer service. Any kind of skill where you need to engage with people, you need to have a conversation, use your words. It's a really powerful combination of technologies that I think comes together really well. What AI platform was the base of your chatbot? I think Adrian answered that one already. Anthropic Cloud. Let's go through here. Have you been able to collect impact data related to the effectiveness of the learning utilizing AI versus typical branching scenarios? Martes, I wonder if you have any insight there. Otherwise, I might have something I'd like to share as well.
Yeah, so we use our internal LMS system to track effectiveness. Also, we receive feedback from that platform from learners to understand how they're using the example. And then also in partnership with SweetRush team, really looking at the analytics of the experience to see where learners may be failing more or scenarios that they are not necessarily doing well on. So for example, they're not empathizing, they're not resolving a breakfast experience or a guest room experience. And so there, we then look across our guest feedback to understand where we might need to amplify or extend more additional training there. And so that's really where we're looking at right now to understand the effectiveness of the training.
Perfect. And then the second half of that, I would add, where you're asking about utilizing AI versus typical branching scenarios, I would say that they're both really powerful in different ways and in different contexts. And when we present webinars like this, we're not saying that this is superior to other learning modalities. They each have their place in the journey of learning modalities. And so I would say, though, that typical branching scenarios or branching simulations are pre-scripted and predetermined. And so when we're dealing with AI, we're getting live answers based on the nuances of a learner's responses. So they're getting very personalized feedback, as opposed to what might otherwise be a canned response or a more predetermined based or scripted feedback. So, they could be saying something that is slightly different to their peers, and they're getting feedback that is very relevant to them, maybe the mistakes that they're making or picking up on their own areas for improvement. So it's a little bit more live, a little bit more iterative as opposed to, a more traditional branching simulation. Okay, the next question here, and a big one as well. So how was legal and HR involved to ensure that the advice provided by the AI wasn't considered a liability, offering incorrect coaching. And I think we touched on this a little bit when we spoke about the AI prompt, and the importance of really feeding as much information into that prompt as possible in terms of examples of what are good responses, and as well as examples of what are not good responses. So we're really guiding it and giving it a structure from which to offer feedback to the learners. We're not just saying, hey, go out to the internet and give us a response that you think is the right response. We're guiding it. We're feeding it the correct and incorrect, guidance based on what is appropriate within the Hilton framework. Martes, I'll hand that over to you and see if there's anything else you would add to that. And
yeah, I think you really hit the nail on the head. At Hilton, due to our global audience of team members, as well as just our global scale, like we take the legality of that with the highest importance. And so for us, it was really giving the AI the quote unquote guardrails so that it was providing fair and reasonable feedback and responding, but also, being mindful that not one problem has one solution, and that every single hotel guest location, it can be different, just based on that individual. So also love it, giving that freedom of the framework for the AI, but as well as the learner too, to understand, based on the guest's upsetness or the severity or the within our honors framework, to understand how to best respond there. And so that gave our legal team, but also the AI, the comfort and understanding of how to best give that feedback to the learner.
perfect. There's another question which is very similarly related to what you're talking about now, Marta, so I'll hand this one to you as well. But how are you considering cultural differences between countries, brands, clients?
Yeah, so this is always top of mind for us. While our largest population of hotels is here in the United States, but we also have hotels across the globe. And so really, we've done a lot of testing internally to understand that these scenarios are applicable. We did look at our global data from guests, and very interesting enough, a lot of our top concerns from guests are the same no matter where they are in the globe. And so identifying it there, but then also allowing our team members to practice and to guide and to help us give that feedback to the AI as well as the program as we were in development, so that it was in its best foot forward. And I'm super excited to share, we had a large conference for our European, Middle East, and Africa hotels where we used this, and we saw that the AI was learning and was listening to different accents and was giving better responses. And so I think that actually added to the depth of this training there by looking across the globe and giving those learners the opportunity to help shape the development of this program.
Amazing. I'm so excited to hear that about your international conference you recently had. That's really interesting as well. And then, as we mentioned a little bit ago, we're building out a whole lot more scenarios. And so the idea is we would have this library of scenarios that are relevant to different brands. And so we're offering that that depth as well in terms of the narrative and the storytelling, and giving people different opportunities to practice across guest challenges and across brands too. I think I've gone through all of the questions, if I'm not mistaken. Are there any other burning questions that we haven't touched on yet? I know we have a couple more minutes here together. If not, I can give you 8 or 9 minutes back into your days. So I'm happy to hang out and see if any other questions pop up. No, otherwise, back to you. Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you again. Please do reach out if you have any particular use cases or needs that you'd love to brainstorm with us. We're always happy to do that. We're super consultative, so would really be happy to go through your specific needs. Or if you just want to chat about any of these topics, as I mentioned, each one of those components we could have spent an entire webinar on. So please do reach out. And again, thank you for having us today.